Have you ever looked closely at a text and noticed the different sizes of dashes, hyphens, or whatever they're called? Well, in this video, we're continuing with the series Everything You Need to Know About English Punctuation, and we're going to be learning about dashes. So if you want to improve your writing skills and up your punctuation game, well then keep watching. So let's take a look into the different types of dashes. And no, I will stop you right there, it's not the plural of Dasha. That would be terrible. There are in fact three kinds of dashes: the M dash, the N dash, and the hyphen. The M dash is the largest of the three types of dashes. It's also the most versatile punctuation out there. That's because it can replace commas, parentheses, and even colons. More on that in a second. Another thing to note is that the M dash always appears without a space either side of it. The purpose of this punctuation mark is to indicate a break in a sentence or question. In terms of replacing commas, an M dash is said to give more visual clarity to written text as opposed to, say, commas. That can make a text appear to be condensed. For example, I spoke to my son's teacher, Mrs. Butler, last week. As you can see, this sentence can also be written to include commas or even parentheses. In general, dashes are firstly considered less formal than parentheses, and secondly give more emphasis on the text appearing between them than parentheses. So, if you want to draw attention to a clause that could otherwise appear in parentheses, use an M dash. You can also replace a colon with an M dash if you're writing something informal and if you want to draw attention and emphasize the conclusion of your sentence. By way of example, I could write, Emma was engulfed with an intense emotion when she learned of her husband's infidelity. Rage. Here I can use a colon or an M dash if I really want to emphasize Emma's feeling of rage. Thankfully for you guys, the M dash is not that popular anymore, and you'll probably see it featured in American writing more than anything else. Oh, and in case you were wondering why it's called an M dash, well, that's because the name indicates that the dash is roughly the size of the letter M. And what about the N dash? The N dash is slightly smaller than the M dash, and you guessed it, it's more or less the size of the letter N. It's mainly used to punctuate numbers like dates, time, and other values, rather than using the words to and through. Put differently, it represents a range of numbers. So you know how you can write from 9 to 5 either this way or that way? Note that we don't add a space between the N dash and the nearby numbers. But even more importantly, we never use an N dash when referring to a range that includes the words from and to and between. So for example, if you were to say the library is open between Monday and Friday, you can't say that it's open between Monday and dash Friday. That's completely wrong. You also can't say the restaurant serves breakfast from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. by replacing the to with an N dash. You might have also seen the N dash feature in game scores like football, like 1-0, or flight and train connections like London, Manchester, Liverpool. But quite interestingly, the N dash can be used instead of a hyphen when forming compound adjectives. And this is purely for aesthetic purposes, so as to make the text clearer. In case you're a little bit confused, a compound adjective is formed when two or more adjectives are joined together to modify the same noun. This can be terms like part-time job or open-minded individual. These terms can be hyphenated or N-dash to avoid confusion or ambiguity. Now, you don't have to put an N-dash or a hyphen between the words. It's a personal choice and a matter of writing style. And speaking of hyphens, a hyphen is the smallest of all dashes, and its purpose is to join two or more words together to create compound terms, just like we discussed a second ago. These are words like up to date, mother-in-law, or 21-year-old man. Here's a fun fact. Some words that used to be hyphenated in the past are no longer hyphenated, like the word email. But you need to be very careful to use hyphens correctly. For hyphenated terms, make sure to check the most recent dictionary if you're ever in doubt. But when referring to adjectives, you need to follow a couple of rules. Firstly, you can only use a hyphen to connect two adjectives that are placed before a noun. As an example, you could say, Oscar is a very well-behaved puppy, or her boyfriend has rock-hard abs. Here, you're making it clear to the reader that the puppy is well-behaved and that the abs are as hard as a rock by adding a hyphen. However, if the noun is placed before the adjectives, a hyphen is not needed. So by turning back to our examples, we'd say, the puppy Oscar is well-behaved, or her boyfriend's abs are rock hard. Secondly, we don't use hyphens after an adverb. So you wouldn't say, this is a brightly lit room with a hyphen between the adverb brightly and the adjective lit. And thirdly, we also use hyphens with past and present participles like verbs ending in ing. With that in mind, you could say, that's one good-looking orchid you have there. Or you could say a sweet-tasting juice, a horse-drawn carriage, or even dishwashing liquid. If the noun comes before the adjective participle combo, then we do not add a hyphen. You would therefore say, the orange juice was sweet-tasting without adding a hyphen between sweet and tasting. Lastly, hyphens are used when referring to fractions and some prefixes. Mathematically, a fraction can be expressed this way, but in written form, we need to add a hyphen after the fraction. So these are words like half or quarter. For example, your idea isn't half bad. As for prefixes, you may have noticed that we use hyphens after the word self and ex, and in some cases, all. For instance, David was a self-proclaimed doctor, but in reality he was a charlatan. Or Diana's ex-boyfriend was a professional skater. When using the prefix all, you can say something like, her all-encompassing book is ideal for the beginner resume writer, or Zeus was an all-knowing and powerful deity. So that's it for dashes. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more English lessons. In case you want to continue to improve your punctuation skills, check out my video on colons, semicolons, and the comma.